Hey, good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Long time no see. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm about to take the test real soon.
What's the date you're taking it?
I haven't booked the test yet, but it's gonna be next week, I think.
Oh, okay. So really, really soon. Yeah. Cool. How do you feel about it? Are you nervous?
Um, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your goal to try to get for all of your scores this time on the test?
Yeah, I got 8 already, so I'm trying to get 8.5.
Mm, cool. Cool. It sounds good. Okay, so what we'll do is go through another speaking test. I'll ask you questions from the test. I'll take some notes, and then at the end I'll share my screen and we'll go over it. I'm also recording this, so I can send you the video at the end, but you can record it if you want as well. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, cool. You ready to start?
Yep.
All right. In this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. First of all, I'd like to talk about the topic of work and study. Do you work or are you a student?
I'm currently an IELTS teacher, and I mostly work online. Mm.
Do you usually have to work on the weekends?
Yes, because a lot of my students are they have to go to work, so I have to schedule the weekends to teach them. And yeah, I do have to make plans for the lessons as well. And the weekend is like the perfect time to do it because it's usually more quiet. Yeah, and I can enjoy my morning or my afternoon in a cafe doing so.
Now I'd like to talk about the topic of history. Do you like to learn about history?
Yes, I think I do. I do now. I didn't like learning history at school though, because the way that they taught history when I was in secondary school or high school was really, really boring and monotonous. We just read books and the teachers were just talking. But now I think it's better because I can learn on YouTube, like through some content all over the internet, and they're really interesting.
Um, what historical event do you find most interesting?
Um, well, it was I think it's got to be the Haibachun period. It was a really long time ago. I think it was when there was still the matriarchic system. When we had two women leading the country and they fought and won us the country.
Do you think history is important?
Well, yes. I mean, if we don't learn history, I think it might repeat itself. If let's take Vietnam as an example. I mean, if we don't learn from our mistakes in the past and we let a lot of foreign people into the country with bad intentions, then yeah, there might be wars.
Do you consider archaeology to be an important science?
Um, Perhaps. I mean, I don't know the first thing about archaeology, but I guess knowing what happened in the past, what tools they used, can be quite significant. As we can maybe learn more about um, I don't know, people in the past and their customs, and maybe we can preserve the history.
Now I'd like to talk about the topic of evenings. Do you prefer studying in the morning or in the evening?
Um, because I have to work in the evening, I have to study in the morning. But I mean, I'd like to work in the study in the evening more because it's more quiet, not a lot of noises outside, and also um my wife is there with me, so I kind of feel more productive when she's around. Not my girlfriend, my wife. Right.
Um, what do you usually do in the evening?
Yeah, as I've mentioned, I work. I have to teach a lot of students in the evening, so I don't really have time for myself. But I after I teach, which is about 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., I do go on to TikTok to live stream. It's a fun activity because I get to help a lot of students reaching their goals. I don't get any money from it, but it is a fun activity that I do every evening.
What did you do in the evening when you were younger?
Um, well, if we're talking about when I was a primary school student, I think I didn't do anything. I just stayed at home watching TV. What I watched was mostly on Disney Channel, and yeah, there were a lot of good shows back then, like Mr. Bean or um, I can't remember Phineas and Ferb. Yeah.
Are there any differences between what you do in the evening now compared to what you did in the past?
Well, I think the most striking difference is well, I had free time in the evening in the past. I used to relax and just um, just lie on my sofa and put my feet up and lose myself in like a good movie. But right now I have to teach and go live stream, so it's still fun though. I just feel like I might need some me time, maybe a little bit more me time.
Thank you. Now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have some time to think about what you're going to say. You can make some notes if you wish. The topic that I'd like you to talk about is to describe an occasion when you receive some incorrect information. Just send it in the chat.
Mhm. Okay.
All right, remember you have 1 to 2 minutes to talk, so don't worry if I stop you. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the time that I received incorrect information. Well, it was I think a year ago when when I was surfing on TikTok and I saw a teacher who got a 9 in IELTS, and yeah, he said that he got all four skills, all nines in the four skills. And I thought it was pretty weird because I have never thought that anyone could have achieved it. But yeah, I mean, he did it. So I was kind of happy for him. A little bit envious of his achievement though. But I mean, it turned out that he was lying the whole time to get students. to get a lot of students studying with him. Um, so how I found out about it was when somebody asked the test center, IDP, and they confirmed that he was lying and he didn't get the all nines in the the skills, and he didn't even get a nine overall. So at that time he locked his profile and didn't respond to any of the people's comments on social media. I think he didn't even pay the students money back when they asked for him. So yeah, it was a really bad move from him, I think. But he got a lot of money, and I think he went overseas to study linguistics. And I think after a year he came back. I think now he is on he's all over the internet again. But this time he's got I think 8.5 or 9 after a year of studying abroad. I feel that this is a problem because you can't just lie, you can't just like deceive people and then get away with it. I mean people forget really quickly, and then right now he's back with a real score. But someone with that level of integrity shouldn't be teaching at all. So I feel like this is not something that should be happening. So yeah.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to talk with you a little bit more generally about the topic of information and misinformation. Do you think that people today are more or less likely to believe false information compared to the past?
Well, there are different stages, I think. I mean, in the past, like a really long time ago, I think people tend to believe misinformation more often because well, they didn't know a lot of things, right? They didn't have much knowledge, or they didn't have a lot of access to Google or the internet, or maybe those posts that spread awareness about fake news. And then there's the next stage when people don't believe in incorrect information because they have access to a lot of things that warn them about misinformation. But then right now, I think people are more likely to believe misinformation because they just appear too many times on the internet, and yeah, when you see something too often, then you tend to believe it. So I think they are different stages, but now we kind of go back to the start.
Can you think of an example of that?
Um, okay, I can think of some examples from Donald Trump, I think. So Trump and Elon Musk are the two people that I think, I don't know if this is true, but they often spread information that is not confirmed, or maybe they're just rumors, or something that they make up. And when people look at them a lot, right, you can see their posts on Twitter are extremely prevalent. And if people see those posts too often, then they might think that they are true. And we can see a lot of comments on those on their pages or on their accounts, right? You can see a lot of comments supporting them or agreeing with them, even though the things that they say might not actually be true. So yeah.
Um, do you think it's common in your country for people to spread a lot of misinformation?
Mm, yeah. I think people in Vietnam, uh, like I think they really believe what they see on the internet. I've seen a lot of people trusting yeah, let's take the the teacher that I mentioned in part two as an example, right? A lot of people believed in him. They didn't even check if his certificates are real or not. Right? They just believe in him and pay a lot of money to support him or to study with him, even though his pronunciation are kind of not um like he was not really fluent back then when he said that he got all nines. His writing were not that good either, but a lot of people believed him. I think it's because they don't have enough expertise to distinguish between something that is good or not.
In your opinion, what do you think are the consequences of misinformation in society generally?
Well, I think the first thing is it can create well, for the example of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, right? It can create a society um, where a lot of people don't know what to believe in anymore. I think eventually when they got exposed as frauds, then people might just don't know what to believe in anymore. And it can be chaotic, um, people losing their direction or they don't know what to do, whose government to believe in. And for the teacher that I mentioned, I think, well, maybe the worst thing is that people might get, not the worst thing, but one thing is that they can get their money lost. They just paid for the course and, well, there's nothing in return for them. Another thing, I think on a larger scale, people might lose interest in um, IELTS, the IELTS test, because there are a lot of scams, and they don't know, again, they don't know what to believe in anymore. Mm, and they might just study by themselves. I don't know. But yeah, there can be a consequence, a lot of consequences.
How do you think people in your country verify the accuracy of information that they come across?
Um, I think one thing that they can do is to Google and look for the source of information that is reliable. There are a lot of news agencies that are trustworthy, like Dân Chí in Vietnam or VN Express. They are governed by the government, and also I think whatever they put out there should be like whatever they put out there should be fact checked many times over and over before being released. So yeah, I think that's one way to look for real information or reliable information.
Do you think it's important for schools to teach students about critical thinking skills that can help them to better evaluate information they come across?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way. Teaching children how to do it would be a smart choice because I mean they can also teach adults, right? Adults to do that as well, especially their grandparents who are not really good at who are not really computer literate. So they can just go back home and tell their grandparents on how to look for reliable information.
How can schools do this?
Oh, I think they can just put it in the curriculum. I mean, there should be a subject for it. Maybe they should not have it a lot of times in a week, but maybe studying it once or twice a month would be nice. And maybe they should have a computer to practice as well, right? Because if they just learn theories, like when I was in secondary school or high school, then it would not work, right? There should be a computer for them to practice.
Thank you very much. That is the end of the speaking test. Good job. me share my screen and we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it, yeah, generally first. So in terms of your fluency, your vocabulary, your grammar, your pronunciation, overall score. Yeah, I think that test was very solid. Like everything was good, everything's in like in the 7 to 8 range in terms of, yeah, I think all skills are like basically similar in terms of like being very solid. There's no real issues with pronunciation. It's like very clear. There are a couple times you could use like good intonation when you're like, it's like, saying the word really or something. Like there's some examples of good intonation, but there's like not much like chunking to make it sound more natural. Sometimes it still sounds like a little bit too, because it doesn't have the chunking, so it doesn't get like the good intonation generally within a sentence, going up and down, and like everything sounds a little bit too much like it's read off a piece of paper. The words are pronounced a little bit too clearly and not kind of like combined together. So, for example, saying something like, they have to go to work, that's okay. It's clear, but it's a little bit unnatural as opposed to saying they have to go to work. So it's like have to go to work, and then stress on work. And then it gives it kind of the rhythm, they have to go to work, not they have to go to work, but they have to go to work. So just like that chunking is what's going to make the difference between getting it from a 7 where everything's clear and then up to 8 where everything's like natural. And it sounds like more natural. And use intonation a couple of good times. That was a really long time ago. Like, so that's good. That's good intonation. But you just need like more of that natural intonation in order to like get it consistently up to an 8. In terms of fluency, I think you can cut down on the uhs and ums at like the beginning of your answers. It's not really a big deal, but like you just start like most answers just like as a habit. I think you start with and right? So like just like right at the very beginning, you can try to cut down on. It's okay to do it sometimes, but like you don't want to start every answer with and because it just gives the examiner like an opportunity to mark you down from like an 8 to a 7 in terms of your fluency, because otherwise the fluency is good. There's no real issues
Right.
besides that. So just cutting it down on the uhs and ums. There's a little bit sometimes as well of like kind of repetition and self-correction, but there's not too much of that. So I think it's okay. Cut down on the ums. In terms of vocabulary, it is clear. Again, just like the other scores, clear. It's like solid, but there's like not a ton of high level phrases, especially like informal phrases. So for example, like this one, like to schedule, have to teach, go to work, make plans, weekend is the perfect time, enjoy my morning, afternoon. It's all okay, but it's all like no mistakes. It's accurate in terms of vocab and grammar, but like nothing stands out. So you need to like have something so it can get it's in that like band 7 range to push it up to band 8 consistently or even higher than band 8, because you don't have a problem with accuracy. It's just about range. So I think for vocab and grammar, same thing. It's like solid, clear. There's some good complexity, but yeah, it could be like there needs to be like more range in terms of vocab and grammar. So for
Mhm.
example, when you say, taught history, again, like nothing really stands out. Every once in a while, like the matriarchal system, um, matriarchal system, that's good, but then it's like leading the country, fought, it's like not very specific.
Right.
Same thing here, like farm people with bad intention might be wars. Some of the stuff just gets like a little bit vague. Um,
Mm.
no, this is probably the best phrase that you use in terms of part 1, right? I don't know the first thing about, so this is like very natural. It's kind of like a phrasal verb or a fixed expression. So this is like very like, like band 9 vocabulary. But
Okay.
again, there's like not a lot of that. And you can try even just replacing simple things, like um, enjoy my morning, head out instead of saying like go to a cafe, like head out to, a cafe, enjoy my morning, or my afternoon off, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, just like a little bit more little phrases like that. Phrasal verbs are a good place to start.
Hmm.
They're a little bit informal for writing, of course, but for for speaking, they're like very, very high level. So these are perfect. So you want to try to get in more of those phrasal verbs. Because again,
Okay.
like, yeah, there's like nothing, live stream is good. Anything that's very specific is also really good. So that's why like matriarchal is really good as well. You know, like that's very specific and like rare vocabulary. So it's rare. That's great. The more you can have, it's rare. But then when you just like leading the country, fought, this is kind of like a missed. It's okay, but it's kind of like a missed opportunity to say something a little bit more specific. Um,
Right.
yeah, then a few other things here. Yeah, like me time is really good. Um, yeah, some me time. I need some me time a little more. Yeah, that's a really good phrase. So there's like a few examples of rare stuff or very natural stuff, but there's like only a few in part one. And then similar in part two, similar, yeah, like there's some good stuff, but you know, overseas to study linguistics, you know, that's really rare, that's really good. Part three, again, it's a mix. There's some parts that are really good, other parts maybe just like a little bit too general and not really. I think you're just kind of missing opportunities to be more specific. That's the main thing. It's obviously a tricky balance to kind of strike between accuracy. So it could be like a 7, 7.5, or even an 8 if you're lucky. But you're kind of missing the opportunities to say something good. It doesn't need to be every answer like that, but you want to try to take sometimes, you know? So any
Right.
questions about that before we look more specifically?
Um, so I should look for like phrasal verbs,
Yeah.
idioms, things that are more natural
Yeah,
in
phrasal verbs are perfect. These are like always natural, right? And they're always like they're all going to be basically like band nine, high level vocabulary, and they're kind of a good way to kind of show off without, you know, showing off because they're very natural and colloquial and informal. It doesn't sound like you're trying to sound like you're trying to use this complex grammar or vocab. It's just very natural everyday language, but it's also very high level. So it's better to use those compared to trying to, you know, learn something like really fancy or like really, really academic, but people don't actually use it, or like an idiom or something. It's
Mm,
much better to learn and use lots and lots and lots of phrasal verbs and also just like, you know, not just phrasal verbs, but like natural collocations or phrases.
right.
Those are good. And then also focus on like the rare items, you know? And you don't have to do it every answer, but like whenever there's an opportunity for a really rare item, you know, like what this is a good example of it when you're talking about the matriarchal system, matriarchal system. This is like a rare thing. So it's like really good opportunity. So you want to kind of like take the opportunity.
Right.
So I'll show you a little bit more specifically in some of the answers. Yeah. So like I'm currently an IELTS teacher. I mostly work online. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. I'm currently. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I can say I wear a lot of hats. I have to make lesson
Yeah.
plans.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like yeah. Um. Yes. Yeah. So that's okay. Yeah. So I wear a lot of hats, or you can say like I have to, or you can say yeah, I'm a bit of jack of all trades, master of none. It's another way to say that. Because a lot of my students, yeah, if you could just be more concise, it's better. Like work weekdays or work have a normal weekday schedule. Yeah, normal weekday schedule or
Yeah.
pattern to their work. You know, any of this kind of anytime you can be instead of like saying something kind of long and wordy, but it's a little bit basic, if you can use a collocation that communicates that in a concise way,
Hmm.
then that helps a lot with your vocab, right? Yeah, and
Okay.
again, for pronunciation, the more you can focus on chunking, that's going to be the difference between 7 and 8 for you. I have to go to work, you know, because not a lot of, but because a lot of my students, you know, work weekdays. They have to go to work. I have to schedule, yeah, sorry to schedule weekends. I have to schedule the weekends to teach them. Yeah, I have to schedule the weekends. Yeah, that's fine to say that. Or you can say like I schedule them. We can say maybe I schedule my classes for weekends. I
Mm.
schedule them for weekends. Yeah. I do have to make plans for, yep. Yeah, make lesson plans. Yeah. And yeah, this is okay, but I think anytime you can talk about something related to your work, you probably know a lot of really specific vocab, right? So
Right.
like, you know, like most weeks, you know, so like during the week, yeah, pretty busy, you know, coming up with my lesson plans. Yeah, and then the weekends pretty full on. Yeah. So, yeah, or like I have my hands full.
Mm.
Monday comes around. Yeah, so anytime you can fit in these, like during the week, I'm pretty busy. Even pretty busy is a good natural collocation. Coming up with, coming up with a good one. The weekends are pretty full on, so that means like I'm really busy, or I have my hands full on the weekend, and I don't have time off. Time off is a good natural one until Monday comes around. So like this day comes around. So if you can just try to like pack in these little natural phrases, that's what will make a difference, as opposed to kind of just this is all okay, it's accurate, but it's all like basic band 6, band 7 vocab and grammar. Yes, yeah, again, try to cut out some of the uhs and ums. Yes, I think I do now. Or you can say like, I have a greater appreciation for history. Yeah, nowadays, now. Again, a more natural expression, just better than just I think I do now. I
Yeah.
didn't like learning history in school though. Yep. Or you can say again, I couldn't stand it back in high school. The more specific, the better. Not just school, but high school. And a phrasal verb like I couldn't stand it. I didn't like learning it.
Mm.
The way they taught history when I was in secondary. Yeah. Yeah. Again, just like a little bit wordy. Was a lot of teaching from the textbook, chapters on our own. Yeah,
Mm.
lots of lectures. Yeah, not very. And you can use some specific vocab that you know from teaching. So anytime time there's something related to teaching, you probably know specific rare vocab. So try to take that opportunity, right? Not very engaging or interactive or communicative. Yeah, it's very like you can call it like a passive learning experience. You know, weren't really engaged in the lessons. Now I think it's better, or you can say it's gotten better. You can learn on YouTube. Yeah, again, it's a little bit in the way you can make it more specific. Like the day I watched a video on YouTube, like on TED Ed about like the I don't know, first female pirate. Yeah,
Mm.
she was Chinese. Yeah, like story. Yeah, it's just something more specific. It doesn't have to be long, right? Like so but then you'll get in this good vocab. Like the other day I watched a video, on TED Ed, and then when you use something that's like rare, like then specific like this,
Okay.
life story, all of that. You don't need to do it for every single answer. It's probably too difficult. So don't try to do it every answer, because then it's like it'll probably just lead to lots of uhs and ums and hurt your fluency. But you just have to have a sense for when it's like a good opportunity for you to give some more detail, like you can tell a little story or you can talk about something specific, then you want to make sure that like you take the opportunity and use it fully. And then other questions, maybe it's like you don't think it's such a good opportunity, you don't have a lot to say, you can't give a specific answer, that's fine. Just give a short answer and wait for the next one. So don't try to like give a long, detailed one every time, but try to do it sometimes. Because I think right now your approach is more like you give like a solid, good answer each time, and it would be better to like try to like give like a great answer sometimes, and then other times you can just give like a solid, okay answer that's like a little bit shorter. That's okay. It's not like they all need to be the same length or anything. And then sometimes you can give like a bit longer one that has like a little example or a little story and something specific, something related to your work or something you've seen in the news. And that's what's gonna like kind of show off, help you to show off and really impress the examiner. Yeah, so like this is a good example, right? Like, well, um, gotta be is a little bit strange there. You can say, I think that would be. Well, I think that would be.
Mhm.
You can say like what first comes to mind is, yeah, it was a really long time ago, obviously. Yeah, it's obviously, but the more specific you can be, better. Like way back in the, I don't know, way back the 1200s, something like that. Um, and back then, Vietnam, you can say like was governed by a
Mm.
matriarchal system. Um, yeah, and this is where I think you could be a little bit more specific. Yeah, so like these two women, yeah, were I don't know, like the de facto kings of the country. or queens, okay. Yeah. Or matriarchs, you can also call them. And yeah, like you can say like they're famous day because you can say if you don't know, it's like my history is a bit easy, okay? But they defended from foreign invaders, like mainly the Japanese, the time of the Chinese from the north,
Right.
whatever it is. Even if you're not sure, you can kind of make it up.
Hmm.
Yeah, so something more specific like that, as opposed to just like leading and fought and won. So try to push for something really specific, even if you're not sure if it's accurate. If we don't learn history, I think it might repeat itself. Yep. Yeah. Or you can say, like I said, saying that history, yeah, you're doomed to repeat mistakes
Yeah.
of the past. Example, yeah. Yeah, so again, this is the part where it starts good, but then it's like too vague there, like foreign people, bad intentions, like it's a little bit too vague in general. You want to say like from the past, yeah, we might, and saying, like kind of quagmires or problems. And you can give a short example, like that's kind of the situation now with like the US, China, and the kind of Vietnam. Yeah, Vietnam is middle, kind of like playing two superpowers off each other. So there's parallels with like the Cold War situation and the USSR and US. You don't have to go into it too much, but just like start to talk about that because then you'll use really specific, good vocabulary. It's a big, difficult topic to talk about, so probably don't try to talk about in too much detail. You can just kind of like mention it a little bit. If you try to talk about in too much detail, it might be too long or too difficult to talk about. Yeah, it's a great phrase. I don't know the first thing about archaeology. Yep. Yeah, but knowing what happened in the past, what tools they used. Yeah. Yeah, and again, customs, preserve history better. Anytime you can give a little example, like for instance, um, and you can start it earlier, like for instance, in Vietnam, there are some ancient, or there is one well-known ancient um, people that lived here maybe in the south or the north, somewhere like that. And like they're always kind of like doing digs, you can say, or excavation
Right.
to find old arrowheads, drums in particular, like it's that famous civilization. They have like really ornate, um, very ornate drums, kind of like with carvings on
Mhm.
the animals. Yeah, and by like looking at they can kind of like understand how people past, yeah, like conceptualized their place in the world, their relationship to nature, God. Yeah, so the more specific, the better. Yeah.
Right.
I have to work in the evening. I have to study. Yeah, so I have to study in the morning. Yeah, so I can just say I work evenings. So yeah, I can only carve out study time mornings. Yeah, it's you can just say it's quieter. Yeah, and again, same thing. Try to be more specific. Like not so much, not so many motorbikes going by, honking, construction, outdoors, kids getting out of school. The more of those you can fit in, that's what's going to impress the examiner. Uh, kind of feel more productive when she's around. Yeah, so you can say like she keeps me honest, and it keeps me on task. Yeah, that's really good. So that's really good. That little example doesn't have to be big ones, but just these kind of like little examples. These are great. So aim to fit in as many of those as you can. As I mentioned, as I mentioned before, yeah, work evenings. teach a lot of students in the evening. After you can say like get done teaching. You go on to TikTok to live stream, or you can just say I live stream on TikTok. Um, yep, help a lot of students. Yeah, reach their goals. Yep, but yeah, I think you can even be more specific. I go on to like do a live stream where students ask me questions about English generally, or IELTS in particular, about the test format, recent writing questions, writing prompts, changes to the speaking test, improving their pronunciation. So, because lots of good vocab there. So that's what I mean before about like take the opportunity.
Right.
Don't worry about doing it all the time, but just do it sometimes. If we're talking about when I was a primary school student, yep. I think I didn't do anything. Yeah, or you can say like nothing. Yeah, that's it's a little bit tricky to say. Like I guess it wasn't actually that active at all. Yeah, you can say like in Vietnam, like students get out late, around like 4, 5 p.m. Sometimes, yeah, after school lessons, snack, dinner. So like after dinner, I would just finish up my homework. Finish up is a good phrasal verb, and then settle down or sit down in front of the TV, watch cartoons, yeah, watch the Disney Channel. Yep, yeah. So this is good, really specific. So that's good. But I think you can contextualize it a little bit better, and you can even say the things you didn't do. Like I didn't go out that often. My parents park, go over friend's house, sleep over, play sports. Yeah, there isn't much time. Or there wasn't much time. I think the most striking difference is I had free time in the evenings in the past. Yep. Yeah, you can say I didn't have my hands full then so much, or like I didn't have as much on my plate back then. Back then is a really good phrase as well. You can use a lot. I didn't have as much going on. I used to relax. Yeah, used to is good. You could also say I would relax. Would is for like same meaning, but just for like a little bit warmer memories. I would relax. Just lie down on my sofa. Use the phrasal verb. Lose myself is really good. Yeah, it's a good movie. To teach, a live stream. Yeah, it's still fun. So yeah. Yeah, so that's good. So I'm going to talk about a time. Yeah, well, it was I think a year ago. Yeah, you can say it a year or so ago. To be like a little bit vague about the time. That's a good phrase. A year or so ago. And you can use good intonation for that. It was a year or so ago when I was surfing TikTok. I think maybe better to say like scrolling through TikTok, or you can just say like messing around on TikTok or wasting time on TikTok. And I try to use the phrase of I came across or I happened upon teacher who claimed. Yeah, you can say claimed to have. Yeah, you can say like a 9 overall and 9 each skill. Yeah, IELTS. Yeah, and yeah, he said that he got all 4 skills. Yeah, a 9 all 4 skills. Pretty weird is a little bit strange, that you can say like I was a bit skeptical or dubious. Yeah, or kind of like it sounded a bit funny. Instead of weird, you can say it sounded a bit funny to me. It's like a little bit suspicious. Suspicious. Um, yeah, a little bit envious of his achievement. Yeah, it turned out that he was or that he had been lying, past perfect continuous the whole time. Yeah, or is making it up, or exaggerating. And he got a lot of students that way. That we can say got really popular. How I found when it was when somebody asked the test center and if he was lying, or like yeah, uh, he didn't get all nines. Yep. He didn't even get a 9 overall at that time. So at that time, you can say like after that, he locked his profile, didn't
Mm.
respond to any comments on social media. Yeah, I can say like stopped answering comments, DMs, personal messages. He didn't pay students back when they asked him. He asked him for a refund. Yeah, we can say like he didn't refund students money. Kind of just like you can say like shut up, shop, took the money, took off. Yeah, so he made a lot off it. Off, off them. Went overseas, studied linguistics, and so like now it's back all over say TikTok again, all over the internet. Maybe better say all over TikTok or all over social media again. But that's a really good phrase. All over something again is a really, really good natural phrase. Um, After a year studying abroad, I feel that this is a problem. Yeah, this is kind of like a persistent, or you can say recurring problem in Vietnam. And you shouldn't be able to lie, deceive people, get away with it, and then come back. The real score, like nothing ever happened, like nothing happened in the first place. Shouldn't be teaching at all. Yeah, I wish there was a better way to police this kind of behavior because it's rampant. Yeah, I know a very similar situation to that. That I think that situation happens a lot, right? Where someone
Yeah,
lies about their score, and then people find out, and then they don't pay anyone back, and then they go abroad, and I know like that same situation before.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Um, I think yeah, so this is a tricky one. So I think there are different stages to it, I think. Oh, different stages to it. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. In the past, people tended to believe misinformation more often, or you can say maybe like we're more vulnerable in
Mm.
some ways to misinformation. Um, and you can just say like they were like generally less educated, knowledgeable, knowledge. And there are also like fewer news sources. There was just the mainstream media, just like a few like the newspapers and a few television channels, the radio. They didn't have access to Google, internet. Yep. Um, that so like, and again, you can give some sort of an example. Like um, it's a tricky one, I guess, to give an example about. Like you could talk about propaganda, I suppose. Um, but you could also just, even if it's not an example of misinformation, anytime there was like a big event, like an assassination or a war, everyone kind of like depends on the mainstream media. Yeah, there's like no way to check or verify what they were saying, like maybe until years later. But yeah, history books on the topic come out. It's like fewer sources of information. But now, then there's the next stage when people don't believe, when people, when people are, distrustful, just like a little bit cynical about the news, skeptical.
Mm.
Right now, people are more likely to believe, cannot go back. Yeah, that's all good. But again, I think some sort of an example would be good, like maybe like conspiracy theories are rife online. So like sometimes someone might share something about the moon landing, and then they might go on YouTube and watch videos and kind of go down a rabbit hole uh, about that topic. And there's a lot of misinformation. And again, you don't need to have like an overall opinion on it. I think there's a good way to do it, different stages to it. So you can even end it say, so it's hard to say more or less likely. It's complex. You don't need to have it. It's not like the writing. You don't have to have a clear answer or opinion to it. I
Right.
can think of some recent examples related to Trump. Yeah, I don't know if it's true. You can say like, I don't follow the news that much, but from what I've seen, they often spread information that is not confirmed, or it can say hasn't been confirmed, or it's unreliable information, or something that they make up, or they can say they totally just make up, or make up whole cloth. That means completely make up. Uh, Seeing their posts on Twitter extremely prevalent, prevalent, or they oftentimes go viral, and then like by the time there is a correction or a retraction, like it's too late, like the damage is done. The more specific you can be, you can even talk about I think they're true, a lot of agree with them. Yeah, you can even talk like really specifically about like, like the tariffs and like Trump, like shared on social media a lot. Like he showed a chart showing um, tariffs between the US countries, but like a lot of misleading statistics. You can say like, for example, like he represented Vietnam as, like 90% tariffs on those goods, but that's very misleading. It's just one export category, like other ones much lower, but then it gets shared online. Yeah. And maybe like people in Vietnam can kind of spot the misinformation, but maybe someone seen in another country or in America, they're going to be a little bit more gullible. They'll just believe whatever he says. And then that information just becomes a fact for them because it came from the president. Yeah. So when there's an example like this, try to like lean into the really specific example. Even if you don't know the total details that well, you can make it up a little bit, talk about it a little bit because you'll use better vocab. And I think they really believe the internet, or you can say like they're very, very trusting or even like very gullible. Um, let's take the teacher that I mentioned, part two, as an example. Yep. A lot of people believed in him. And like there was no way to verify what he was saying at first. Not really paid a lot of support, but like they kind of like helped. Maybe they share. You can say that they shared his posts, his videos, helped him go viral, um, paid for his materials and classes, signed up for his classes. Yeah, just be a little bit more specific because they didn't really pay to support him. It's more like they bought his product or paid for his service. But like for discerning viewers, you can say like there was always something fishy about it, something suspicious. Okay?
Mm.
His pronunciation, was a bit off. Again, try to be like, even if it's not true, like lots of dropped final sounds or like not the best intonation, something like that. Like that's really specific vocab will help a lot. He
Mhm.
wasn't that fluent back then. Yeah, again, you can say lots of stuttering, uhs and ums, or self-correcting, repeating himself, repetition. Any of that stuff is really, really good because it's specific. A lot of people, believed him, or just like trusted him. Uh, don't have enough experience. Yeah, they they don't have enough expertise to distinguish between, yeah, bad English. And you can generalize it a little bit. So it's like oftentimes, like if you're not an expert field, like I'm sympathetic with students. In this case, they might not be able to tell, yeah, that something off with his grammar. We'll be able to like spot his grammar mistakes because their English isn't good enough. So then they just end up trusting him and then learn those mistakes. Is it can create, yeah, for in the example of Elon Musk, you can create a situation, yeah, so a situation or an environment where a lot of people don't know what to believe in anymore. Yep. It can, yeah, you can say it can undermine people's belief in, institutions or individuals. Yeah. And again, I think, yeah, trying to like be a little bit more specific, so if, yeah, so if Elon Musk posts conspiracy theory, like for example, maybe like about the attempted assassination, Trump, a while back, and lots of people believe it, share it, yeah, then they might not trust the news, government, yeah, and they might be vulnerable to, yeah, some radical views, yeah, yeah, something like that. Just try to use a little bit more of an example as opposed to talking about it generally, and you can always use Vietnam examples, things that have happened in the news recently. Is
Right.
Google it, yeah, look for a reliable source, trustworthy, yeah, double check, cross check, yeah, verify, trustworthy. Yeah, you can say like government backed ones.
Mm.
A lot of fact checkers, whatever they put out there has been fact checked over and over before being published. Yeah, you can say it, or it has gone through an editorial process before it's published or before it's released. Yeah, it's been verified. Yeah, cross-checked. That's one way to look for. Yeah, to look for or to kind of like shift, sort out, shift through, see through reliable information. Yeah, sift through. Yeah, I think that's a really good way or idea, proposal, a little bit more academic, how to think critically or evaluate news sources or be more discerning, skeptical. Right? They can also teach adults to do it as well. Not really computer literate. Yeah, you can say like much more vulnerable to scams. Yeah, how to,
Mm.
or you can say how to spot potential scams or misinformation. And you can give a little example, for example, if an email looks like it comes from government, could easily fool older person, but someone more tech savvy might spot right away that the email is made up or there are clues, yeah, that it's not probably the email. Put in the curriculum. Yeah, you can say like maybe like ease it into the curriculum or kind of incorporate it into the existing curriculum or tack it on. It could be, it could be like its own subject, or it could just be like part of other subjects, part of the history, for example. Um, or maybe just once a week, or maybe as an elective, uh, once or twice a month, be nice or enough, or you could say sufficient, computer to practice. Yeah, it would have been tricky. Yeah, but now they can like look up these news. Yeah. Again, you can give an example. So for instance, it could be something like the tariffs or something. They can look at what's in the news, and then they can kind of like check different newspapers. They can check a more liberal one, a more conservative one. They can like kind of spot the differences in how it's reported about. And then they can look for, something like an academic paper, try to find out something more about it, but try to use a few more examples. It doesn't need to be every question, but especially earlier in your answer, try to use more examples so you can kind of explain it and talk about it and use more specific vocab in part three. And then it's basically the same idea in part one. Try to give those specific examples or stories a little bit earlier. In part one, they don't have to be as long. They can be like little examples. But in part three, they could be a little bit longer to kind of explain your point. But basically, it's the same idea. You want to try to give more specific examples, like stories, and that'll get you to use more natural, rare vocabulary. And then just try to tack in some more phrasal verbs to make it more natural as well.
Okay.
Cool. Any questions about any of that? It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I think it's from my habits of teaching my students. I teach them. Most of my students are in like a band 6, 6.5. So I always tell them to be a little bit simpler with the answers because they always try too hard. And then I gonna have that on me as well.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance, right? Because on the one hand, there's a different, when you're like practicing, you want to try to be more complex, try new ideas, talk about new things so that you're making mistakes and exploring. But then when the real test, you have to be a little bit more conservative. You don't want to, you're not trying to improve, you're not trying to make mistakes. You're just trying to show off what you already learned. So I think when you're practicing, you want to try to take more risks, make more mistakes. Then on the real test, you obviously don't want to make those mistakes, but you still want to have like a little bit of a risky mindset in terms of if you just play it too safe, then you might just use too much like basic vocabulary, too simple. You still need to like take some risks on the test. You just have to like, the key is I think knowing when to pick your spots, like when to choose a good opportunity. Like, oh, I can give a good example, or I can give a good little story here. But other times, that like it's kind of not a good question for you. You're not going to be able to give a strong answer. So then you can just give a basic one. So like being able to evaluate and decide whether or not having the exact same approach on every question, but being able to decide whether to give a long answer or not, I think will be really key for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah. Do you have any other questions about it?
no, it's really cool.
Cool. All right. So that document's already in the folder, and I'll add the video to the folder a little bit later as well. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good luck with it. If you have any other questions, feel free to write me a message anytime. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for today.
No problem. Good talking to you. Have a nice day. Good luck on
All
the
right, have a
test.
nice day.
Bye
All
bye.
right, good one. See you then.